Stretching is one component of fitness that a lot of us find way too easy to skip. But there are some benefits of stretching that might just make you want to add it to your routine. Do you stretch every morning? Do you know the wonders it does to you? There are some legit mental and physical benefits to incorporating it into your routine, whether you stretch pre-workout, at the end of your session, or another time during the day. Want to know more about what happens if you stretch for 5 minutes every morning? Stay tuned and keep on watching. Before we move on, a like would be awesome. Number 1. Improved flexibility. Flexibility is the range of motion of a joint or group of joints. Stretching can help increase your range of motion both temporarily and in the long term. The temporary gains may be the result of your nervous system becoming more tolerant to a stretch position. These gains often disappear within a day or even a few hours. To actually lengthen the muscle and thus improve your range of motion long term, you need to stretch diligently about 5 to 6 days a week. Number 2. Makes day-to-day life feel easier. Increasing your flexibility won't just improve your workouts, it can also make everyday life better. You may not realize it, but there are a lot of daily tasks that involve some level of flexibility, like squatting to sink in and out of a chair, leaning over to get in your car, and bending down to scoop up your toddler. By boosting your flexibility with stretching, you'll be able to perform these small but essential day-to-day movements more easily and effectively. Number 4. Decreased risk of injury. Warming up before a workout can help reduce your risk of injury, and dynamic stretching is one component of a good warm-up, along with light movement that gets your heart rate up. Dynamic stretching helps warm up your muscles, joints, and tendons and temporarily increases your range of motion. This in turn can help you perform the moves in your workout with the ideal body positioning. Take a squat, for example. If you tried to do the movement without warming up first, you wouldn't be able to sink as low. To compensate for that shortened range of motion, you might lean forward, which could stress your back, or turn your knees in, which could cause a pain on the outside of that joint. But if you dynamically warm up first and then squat, you have a better chance of actually nailing the move pain-free. Number 9. Improved achiness. If you work a traditional desk job, you're probably sitting for 8 hours or more every day. And now, thanks to stay-at-home life, many of us are spending even more time on our butts after the workday wraps. All that time in the same position can cause certain muscles like your hip flexors to adaptively shorten and thus feel tight. A consistent static stretching routine may help reverse that adaptive shortening and thus alleviate that achy sensation by increasing flexibility in the muscle. You can also combat that tightness by simply moving more during the day. One easy way to achieve that: do 5 minutes of dynamic stretching every hour. We suggest moves like hip circles and swinging arm hugs. These brief bursts of activity can go a long way to combating your daytime tightness. Number 10. Feel more relaxed. For a lot of people, stretching just feels good, and things that make us feel good, whether that's eating a warm chocolate chip cookie, taking a hot bath, or stretching, can help reduce chronic stress and bring us closer to a calmer state. Stretching can be especially relaxing mentally if you pair it with deep breathing. Every time you release a deep breath, imagine you're letting go of a stressor in your life and then sink a tiny bit lower into the stretch. Stretching in this intentional way can definitely give you a mental boost. Number 11. Ends your workout on a positive note. Finishing your workout with tough burpees or a lung-busting sprint down the block might not leave you with the most pleasant impression of your exercise session. Doing some gentle stretches, on the other hand, can help you end your workout on a happier, calmer note. And if doing those gentle stretches make you think more positively about the workout in general and thus more likely to do it again, then that right there is a benefit. Tips to keep in mind with stretching. While stretching can be an important addition to any exercise routine, there are some things that you should keep in mind to get the most out of it. Number 1. When you stretch matters. Dynamic and static stretches have different timing. Dynamic stretches, as we mentioned, should be performed before your workout. Static stretching, on the other hand, can be detrimental to your workout if you do it beforehand. It can potentially reduce strength, power, and explosiveness if done right before a workout, so you may want to save it for your cooldown or for some active recovery on your rest day. If you're doing static stretching on its own, just make sure you warm up your muscles first. Simple movements like jumping jacks, arm swings, and walking up and down the stairs can do the trick. Number 2. Certain stretches are more effective for certain workouts. If you're stretching pre-workout, it's a good idea to focus on dynamic stretches that activate muscles you're going to be using in your workout, says Ford. For example, if you're going on a run, make sure to do dynamic stretches such as butt kicks, high knees, or lateral lunges that target the lower body. As for stretching after your workout, you want to pick stretches that target the muscles you just worked. After a long run, that might include stretches like the inchworm plus the runner's lunge with rotation. Number 3. You don't have to hold your stretches for ages. We recommend holding static stretches for a minimum of of 30 seconds. That should give you enough time to feel your muscle initially contract against the stretch, and then slowly, after about 10 seconds, you should feel that contraction relax. At that point, you can lean a little bit further into the stretch. Just make sure you listen to your body and don't push too far. Release the stretch after about 60 seconds or sooner if you want. Holding it for more than a minute isn't going to provide any additional muscle lengthening benefits, says Harding. As for the dynamic stretching, there's no set amount of time. You're looking for the sensation of your body warming up, so once you feel that happening, you're good to go. If you're dynamically stretching before a workout, Matsuoka generally recommends a 10 to 15 minute warm-up period that includes dynamic stretches, plus a light activity to raise your heart rate, like easy jogging or biking. The more intense your workout, the longer you should dynamically stretch beforehand. Number 4, stretching shouldn't hurt and is generally safe. Stretching won't necessarily feel comfortable, but it should never hurt. You shouldn't have to grimace though, so if your stretch feels painful, back off. And if you feel any burning, numbness, or tingling while stretching, you're probably stretching a nerve, in which case you should pull way back. Wait for the sensation to dissipate and then resume the stretch if you want. Just don't go nearly as far. When done correctly, stretching is safe for most people. The caveats? People who are hypermobile, meaning they have an unusually large range of motion. Experts believe folks shouldn't engage in general stretching, as doing so can create instability around their joints and increase their risk of injury. Instead, they should focus on strength training to create more stability and protection around their joints and tissues. Of course, your doctor or physical therapist can provide more individualized recommendations if you're in this situation. Number 5, stretching isn't a magic solution to your fitness goals. All these benefits show that adding stretching to your fitness routine can be a solid choice, but it's important to stay grounded with your expectations of it. For one, you likely won't see long-term improvements in flexibility by stretching sporadically. To achieve notable gains, we recommend stretching 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night. With this type of commitment, you will likely notice a difference in your flexibility in 2 weeks to a month. Just don't expect it to be an extreme change. It's also important to note that stretching isn't the only way to increase your flexibility. Eccentric training, movements where the muscle is lengthening under load, can improve flexibility as well. Take note that it is not true that stretching after a workout will prevent you from developing delayed onset muscle soreness after. Is this video enough to convince you to start your morning on a daily note with stretching? Share your thoughts and let us know in the comments below.